One of the more disturbing pieces of news to come out this week was Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis signing his, quote, Stop Woke Act. Now, the Stop Woke Act, and which, by the way, he quoted MLK while signing it, just as a little bit of irony and to kind of stick it to everybody, I guess. But the Stop Woke Act bans the teaching of critical race theory here in the state of Florida. Something that literally was already not happening. But that's not all. Modeled after the Texas anti-abortion bill, DeSantis has basically put a bounty on teachers here in the state of Florida that says that parents, if a teacher is teaching your kid critical race theory, which I guarantee you none of them could tell you what it is, even DeSantis himself, but if a teacher is teaching your kid critical race theory, you can now sue the school for that. Now, there's a big problem with that. Not just the legality, the morality, the problems for the teacher. I'll get to the bigger problem in just a moment, but let's think about that for a second. These people do not know what critical race theory is. Critical race theory is not taught in any public schools here in the United States that we've been able to find. None. It is a college-level concept that is taught to those seeking that concept. But what we do teach kids about is slavery. We teach them about segregation. We teach them about the actual history of the United States. So what, in these demented minds of these Florida conservatives, constitutes critical race theory? Are we no longer allowed to talk about Martin Luther King Jr.? I imagine a lot of parents would want to see that go. Are we no longer allowed to talk about segregation? We're not allowed to talk about the slave trade and slavery in the United States. We can't talk about the Civil War because that all involves race. So what we're going to see is a flurry of lawsuits from the dumbest parents in this country against schools because they don't know the difference between a college level theory and the actual history of the United States. Schools will be flooded with lawsuits. And of course, they're going to have to hire lawyers to come out and defend themselves. Even if it's a bogus BS lawsuit, you still have to hire a lawyer to deal with it. And that's where the bigger problem comes in for Ron DeSantis. Do you know where schools get money? Do you? It's from the head of the state. So what DeSantis has effectively done here is given parents the permission to sue his own government. Because the state government is what pays for the schools. And if you can sue the schools, you're effectively suing the state government. So didn't quite think that through, did you, dumbass? Because this is ultimately going to fall on you. The state is going to have the burden of having to pay for these things. But you don't care about that because, hey, it's not your money, right? We're not making Ron DeSantis pay out of pocket to defend these lawsuits. But what's going to happen is that we're going to end up with underfunded schools that are, well, let's be honest, they're already underfunded here in the state. But you're going to underfund them further by dragging them down with lawsuits that they're going to have to pay for. The state is somehow going to have to make up that revenue, which means either our taxes are going to go up or you're just going to say, screw it, and let the schools operate with no money at all. We will see an exodus of teachers in a state that is already suffering from a very severe lack of teachers. I know this. I'm involved in the school system here in the state of Florida. I know what's happening. I see it every day. I hear about it every day. And that's what's going to happen. This law will not hold up in court. Again, because this government cannot define what critical race theory even is. But it's not going to die in court before a lot of lawsuits are filed by, again, some of the dumbest parents here in the state of Florida who also don't understand what that concept, what that theory actually is. Schools are going to spend a lot of money, and here's what I hope. I hope that any school district that gets sued and wins their case, I hope they can sue the parents. I hope they can absolutely turn around and sue those parents and get their money back. Put that out there in the ether and see what happens. But what Ron DeSantis is doing here is what he does best. He's pandering. He knows that critical race theory is not a problem, but he knows that his idiot followers think it's a problem, so he goes out there and he signs this legislation saying, I dealt with the problem that didn't actually exist. much like his transgender athlete ban, much like his, curtailing of our First Amendment rights through his anti-protester legislation. All the man knows how to do is pander to the dumbest people in this state. And it's gotten him very far. The latest round of Republican presidential polling that does not include Donald Trump shows Ron DeSantis at the top of that pack by double digits. He's pulling in 30%. The next person behind him is only pulling in 17%. I believe that's Mike Pence. DeSantis is winning this thing. If Trump doesn't run for president in 2024, Ron DeSantis will. And right now, he's at the top of the pack, and it's because of stupid legislation like this that convinces even dumber people that this guy knows what he's doing.